Hi everyone, it's Sue here from Elixir Consulting. I wanted to talk today about this challenging time in any business when you get to a point where you're feeling like there's just not enough time in the day and you don't have enough resources in your business to be able to keep up with the workload that you've currently got, let alone start bringing on new clients. It's always an interesting time in any business, that massive decision to say, is it time to employ a new team member? Is it time to bring on some more people in my business? And I wanted to share an experience that I had recently with one of our clients. So they were finding they've got a relatively substantial team already. They've got a significant number of client reviews that they do, and they were just constantly finding a backlog. It was taking way too long to be able to get the advice documents in, to be able to actually prepare for the reviews, get the reporting ready, do the reviews, and then follow up with the ROAs and the paperwork afterwards. And they were at that point and making a decision to say, hey, I think we need to add a new team member. And rather than just moving forward into that, it was a significant business decision to make, because it would have been obviously a $50,000 to $60,000 cost that they were going to add to the bottom line. But instead of just going straight into it, we took stock and had a look at the way that people were doing the job that they had at hand. And what they found was, rather than continuing to add more people into the mix using an outdated process or using a clunky process, they made a slightly different decision that had a really surprising result. So instead of having more team members using this outdated process, they actually got somebody in to just have a look at the review process they were using with the software. And so long story short, they ended up spending, I think it ended up being about $15,000. So it wasn't an insignificant spend, still cheaper than putting on a full-time staff member for a year, but they got someone in to redo their whole processes, redo the document templates they were using, set up the template properly in the software, fix up the data feeds that they had coming in. And what they found was that they actually ended up with a much better outcome for their clients. They had beautiful documents that were prepared for these reviews. The advisors find now that they're far better prepared before the client comes in. The meetings are going much better. They're actually able to implement a slightly newer process that they use to dig a little bit deeper in their client review meetings with their clients and broaden the relationship. And the turnaround time to be getting the follow-up advice documents back to the client after the review is an awful lot less than what it had been. So yes, it was an investment in the technology and the people to come in and actually unpack the process and rebuild it. But what it meant was that they didn't actually need to employ another staff member. And the very interesting side effect that none of us really saw coming was that it actually freed up a lot more of the time of their existing staff who were working on that client review process. So now those people are actually taking on some more of the onboarding work for new clients. So their turnaround times to bring on new clients has actually shortened as well. So in terms of that return on investment that they're getting for that investment, yes, it didn't mean putting a whole new body on, but it meant that they got a far greater rate of return. So when you're at that point in business and making these big decisions, I just want you to stop and think for a minute, because it is a little bit of human nature that when we're busy, when we're feeling a bit overwhelmed, we just feel like we just have to work harder. I've just got to put a bit more time in. I'll just take a few files home on the weekend. I'll just do it. But you want to ask yourself, are you doing the right things? Stop trying to do everything in the business and be more selective with your time. Be mindful of what you're spending your time on, and also check yourself and see, are you using a process that could be fixed? Or are you maybe yesing all over yourself too much? I know particularly when we're really competent at doing things, there is a tendency, and I've seen this at senior advisor level all the way through to paraplanning teams, where rather than looking for the better way to do something, you just keep using the process you've always used because you feel like you don't have time to learn a new technique. You feel like it will take too much to actually down tools and look at fixing the process. And sometimes it feels like it's just easier to get it done yourself rather than actually writing out instructions and having somebody else support you with the job at hand. So I want you to just be mindful of this and be aware of where you're spending your time. Don't fall down that path of just staying busy, focusing on what you're doing things the way that you've always done them. Just take your head up a little bit. You know, it's like I don't know, if you use the metaphor of, you're walking down the street and you keep finding yourself jumping over puddles. Oh, there's another puddle ahead, I've got to jump over that. You end up finding yourself totally exhausted, and it takes you twice as long to get to your destination. Whereas if you actually stop for a second and look a little bit further down the road and discover, well, actually, there's a burst water main and I'm going to keep coming across puddles. All I need to do is step across the other side of the street. My journey is going to be a lot easier. Sometimes it's that simple in business, but it does require the tenacity to actually stop, take a deep check on what you're doing and how you're doing things, and rebuild them. So I hope that helps with you. If you're feeling really overwhelmed, or if you're at that point, it may well mean that you are ready to put on a new team member, and that's fine. But if not, it might be that you can just get better at the way that you do things. Yes. If you want to think about this in your business, if it's time for you to start mapping out your business plan for next year and look at how you're doing things, whether it be process driven or whether it be around your value proposition or your pricing or any of those other things in your business, rather than continuing down the path you've always done and using the same processes and tools at your disposal, if you're ready to start thinking about how you can sharpen those up to improve your outcomes, you might want to check out our Elixir Blitz. We've got new dates coming up in July. So about strategizing for next year, about tweaking your pricing model. It's a great program for us to be able to help you really efficiently. Hope you're having an awesome day. Ciao, everyone.